Hey y'all, welcome back. We have been on a roll, so we are beginning to read Coming Home to Self, The Adopted Child Grows Up by Nancy Newton Verrier. Now, this is according to her preface, which I'm not reading, it is intended to be the sequel to The Primal Wound. So if you haven't listened to my reading of that, please go ahead and do so. We are starting with part 1, Checking the Foundation. And I will be uploading 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's going to be a very long reading, so it's going to be a number of months. I will just tell you from what I've planned already, it's going to be almost a year and a half of readings because of how large this book is. There is a lot. I am breaking it out into different sections. So you'll see that. Anyway, part 1, Checking the Foundation. In dreams, a house is often a symbol of the psyche. People dream of houses with many rooms, most of them unexplored. Some of the rooms are sunny and bright, and some are dark and mysterious. Exploring the depths of our beginning for hints of the true self can seem like opening those closed doors into the unknown. One thing is certain: to build a house that will withstand the elements, it is important to first build a strong foundation. Part 1 of this book represents the foundations of that house, or psyche. For our purposes, the foundation consists of knowledge and awareness of the manifestations of our life's circumstances. Before changes can be made in the psyche, there must be some understanding of the circumstances and events that created the attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors that keep one from attaining the kinds of relationships, occupations, and lifestyles that promote satisfaction and even happiness. Change cannot take place without the acknowledgement of the issues which prevent satisfaction. An acknowledgement cannot take place without the awareness of these issues, their causes, manifestations, and impact. The first 8 chapters are an effort to make clear the obstacles in the path of finding your authentic self. Assuming the power that comes from discovering the self and taking responsibility for the impact you have on those people in your life who matter to you. Those who have read The Primal Wound, and I hope that includes everyone who attempts to read this book, aka everyone who attempts to listen to me, will wonder if I will be repeating the contents of that book. Some of the ideas in the first chapter will sound familiar, but this time I present them differently and include many of the lessons you have taught me since the writing of that book. I also include the wisdom of other authors who have explored the many aspects of trauma. One of the reasons that the first 2 chapters may sound somewhat academic is that the works I have cited pertaining to trauma and brain research are scholarly, works meant mainly for the eyes of professionals. Thus, the quotations are more academic in nature than I like to use for a book that is meant for the trades. However, it is important that you become aware of these works as they pertain to your issues. I ask you to bear with me in pursuing these chapters. They are vitally important to the understanding of what transpired to cause the triggers which many of you experience. Triggers which interfere with living a full, healthy, and satisfying life. This understanding is also important for the people who are in relationships with adoptees, because they may have a tendency to think that it is simply a question of mind over matter. Their edict may be shape up. While I say this at times, I know this is not easy to do. It can be easier, however, if there is some understanding of what causes distorted beliefs, unpleasant feelings, and the reactions to these feelings. From brain research has come the understanding that in order to be emotionally healthy, we have to be able to regulate our emotions. This does not mean either repressing or suppressing them, but reacting appropriately to stimuli, and then responding to our feelings in a mature manner. The 3rd through the 7th chapters give insight into the most troubling emotions and how to deal more effectively with them. The 8th chapter is a synopsis of the importance of regulating our emotions, having a greater understanding of the workings of the brain and our brain chemistry should make affect regulation a high priority for everyone. Letting it all hang out, quote unquote, ain't where it's at anymore, but neither is stuffing it. Although insight isn't the whole answer to affect regulation. I apologize, I had to stop for a moment. All right. It is a start. Awareness is a key to making lifestyle changes that make it possible to allow and keep good relationships, as well as to reinstate relationships that may have gone awry. Many adoptees have written to me to tell me how much the primal wound has helped them understand their feelings and behavior. It has helped normalize their responses to their experience of relinquishment and adoption. It has made them realize that it was the experience that was abnormal, not their responses to it. It has allowed them to look deeper into their motives and intentions. It has allowed them to have compassion for the wounded child they were still and may be. For the wounded child they were and still may be. I read that way too fast. This has no doubt been helpful, but understanding without a way to change is not enough. Now it is time to help that inner wounded child grow up and respond to the environment in a more appropriate and mature manner. So if you've been following along for a while, in my the book Adoption Healing, there are 3 books by Joe Soul, who, if you are an adoptee, you can befriend him on Facebook. He also has a website you can join. Anyway, his 3 books really work on the inner child. I do have one of them as a reading. I will get to another one after I finish this book, which will be a while. But I will have other inner child working shorter videos, just more like adoptee affirmations. So you'll see those coming. You can always, check in, Google them. Highly recommend, because working with your inner child, it's not just for adoptees. Everyone should honestly do it, whether you're truly wounded or not. It really brings this healing to that part of you. Anyway, let's finish up the chapter. When your whole life has been one of coping with trauma, it is difficult to know where your coping mechanisms end and the authentic you begins. As you go through life, you adapt more and more, and you identify more and more with this adaptation. This adaptation, these coping skills, seem like a lifeline to safe existence. Too many of you have been held hostage by your early victimization and the adaptation you have made to that victimization. You believe you are the adaptation. No matter how uncomfortable this seems, you have now become a victim, not only of your initial trauma, but also of the adaptation you made to the trauma. Pausing there, I know we're in the middle of a paragraph, but taking a moment, as adoptees, we are stuck in between wanting to be true to ourselves, wanting to be true to our biological family, some of us anyway, and some of us are stuck living up to this expectation that our adoptive parents have. And it's so frustrating to be true to ourselves when we're stuck in this place. And so, as Nancy Newton-Verrier has said, it's not just complex, right? But it's this adaptation of who are we, and we're constantly questioning and learning about ourselves. And as my friend Sarah likes to say, who is on TikTok, by the way, you're okay until you're not okay as an adoptee. So while you as an adoptee may have said, well, I had a good adoption and I don't have trauma responses and all this, you can say that at 10, you can say that at 20, at 30, at 40, at 50, but at 85 or 65 or whatever, right? It could be today you could say you're happy and then the next day you realize you're not. It's okay. It's okay to flip. It's okay to learn about yourself. It's important to recognize that we need to learn more about who we are, and I can't even speak today. Adoptees truly want to be authentic. And it's extremely frustrating when we have all of this pressure from biological family and adoptive family and society and all of that, when you just want to be yourself. Okay, sorry, going back. Remaining a victim is no longer tenable. It leaves you on the treadmill of self-hatred, failed relationships, inappropriate occupations, and wasted talents. It obscures the true self and leaves you in the realm of false self. In writing this book, I am assuming that the majority of you want to escape the prison of the false self and emerge into your authentic self. These first few chapters are designed to give you more insight into the stones that hinder the path out of victimhood, more into authentic, mature, satisfying adulthood. It will not be as much fun to read as part 2, but it is the foundation for the second part. It is meant to instill the kind of knowledge and awareness which can lead to the changes necessary to obtaining authenticity, responsibility, and personal power. So with that said, we are going to move on. The next reading, I'm uploading Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays with the readings again. So we're going back to that, and I will see you guys in the next reading.